What's up everybody, my name is Carl, and in September of 2019 I finally passed my UK driving test. I cut it a bit close as well because a few weeks later my theory test would have expired, which would have meant that I would have had to retake my theory and then I'd have to wait again to do my driving test and reschedule it. As we now live in very interesting quarantine times, I consider myself pretty lucky because who knows when I could have taken my test again. It could have been cancelled and I could be sitting here waiting to redo my test. Passing my driving test was a huge deal to me because from some of the videos that I've made on this channel, I am a very big car enthusiast. So I'm very excited that I've passed my test, and in the near future I will buy my first car, but that is yet to come. Today I thought I would do my driving test tips to help people prepare for their upcoming driving tests. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, driving tests and lessons have been suspended and cancelled until further notice. But I thought I'd still create this video for people that are sitting watching sort of driving videos online, and hopefully they're looking for some new tips which I can provide, and I kind of at least want to help at least one person, because these tips that I'm about to give you did help me with my driving test. This could be for people that are considering doing their driving test but don't know how they'd prepare for it, for people that were going to do their driving test but have now got more time, or for people that have done their test before but are looking for new kind of fresh takes and tips on how they can do their next driving test. Tip number 1, consistency. If your test was in 2 to 4 weeks time, I would have recommended to have done at least 4 to 6 hours of driving per week. Now that sounds like a lot of money and a lot of time, but the more hours you put in, the better you are at driving. The more sort of experience and the kind of driving memory you gain from doing a lot of hours really does add up. And it's better to do as much as you can with the little amount of time that you've got, because you're more prepared for something if you study it more than if you just do an all-nighter. In some cases an all-nighter miraculously works for some people, but obviously don't do an all-nighter for this, trust me. Tip number 2, food and sleep. Yeah, 2 of my favourite combos that I've been doing for weeks now. Nonetheless are very important for this. Regardless of what time of day your driving test is, you should be getting the perfect amount of sleep. So around 7 to 8 hours. You want to be alert, rested and ready for your test. You don't want to wake up having 3 hours of sleep and jumping straight into your test, because quite frankly you're not going to perform as well. Food is obviously important. Make sure you've eaten something before you do your test, because you have a bit of energy and your brain is kind of charging up. I would recommend having like a balanced meal, so don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't eat a lot of junk food. Make sure it's kind of healthy and energetic. The biggest tip for food is to eat a banana an hour before your driving test, because bananas produce potassium, potassium is energy, your brain will be more wired and you'll be more alert and you'll be a bit more peppy when you're driving. As well as food, fluids are very important as well, so I suggest bringing a bottle of water along with you when you do your driving test. Obviously don't down it in one, because you're going to need the toilet when you're doing your test, and that's not a good thing. What you want to do is, while the examiner is briefing you on what your test is going to be, sip your bottle of water. You'll have some fluids inside of you and you should be ready to go. Tip number 3, focus on your mistakes instead of the things that you're already good at. Sounds kind of obvious, I know, but you kind of fall into the trap of doing the things that you really are good at and very comfortable and confident with doing when it comes to driving. And that unfortunately is not going to help you with the things that you're really bad at. If you struggle with things like roundabouts, meeting traffic at junctions and maybe a manoeuvre, I would recommend focusing on them first over the things that you already know how to do well, because in the long term they're really going to help you out. At the end of the day, you can't just depend on the things that you're good at, and you can't really rely on them hopefully being the things that you get done in your exam, because that might not happen. You might end up being given a manoeuvre that you don't really like. So it's best to practice everything, and most importantly the things that you're not good at, because you'll get more comfortable and more confident with it, and it'll make your life a lot easier. At the end of the day, you're going to be assessed on not the quality of your driving, but how safely you drive. And that's something important to take away from this. It's better to learn from your mistakes and do those mistakes and know that you can do it safely and comfortably. Tip 4. Do mock tests regularly. Mock driving tests are really good. They prepare you for the real thing and you get an insight on what it's like. It's best to kind of do it possibly early on during your driving lessons, but try and get them in at least a few times, because you'll know how it feels. You'll feel nervous, of course, and at least you're experiencing it early on if you get to do them early on. And that way, when you do your test, you'll be a little bit more comfortable. You're like, I know how it works and I can do this sort of thing. And if your instructor is part of a driving school company, try and see if you can get another instructor to do the mock test with you, because you'll really feel it. It'll totally feel like the actual test because it's someone you don't really know. And of course, like I say, you kind of will feel nervous anyway during your test because you're being assessed by someone you don't know. Try and imagine them to be one of your parents' friends that you're driving home. It kind of worked for me when I had my test. I just imagined that it was one of my mum's friends. I don't really know, but I know that it's my mum's friend. I'm dropping her off. Try it, it might help you. Tip number 5, watch these other YouTubers. Now I hope some of the tips that I've given you so far have helped at least one person out there, but of course I'm not the biggest expert out there, and there are driving instructors who have YouTube channels and they really give some really good advice. So there's 2 channels I recommend, World Driving and Learn to Drive Travis. They give you tips and how to do a driving technique, so whether it be a maneuver or coming up to a junction and dealing with meeting traffic, to giving general advice on how to sort of stay calm when you have your test. They are really good YouTubers and they really did help me out when I had my 5th driving test. If I didn't watch those videos prior to that test, I don't think I would have passed or really learned anything from the other tests. I really hope these tips have helped at least one person out there, even if it's a very significant little piece of advice. It would be nice to know that I helped somebody out with their driving. But regardless, I really wish you the best of luck with your driving test and your driving lessons. It's not the end of the world if you don't pass first time or if you don't pass your test anyway. There's still room for improvement and you can do it again. It's not the end of the world. Hopefully you guys get back into your driving lessons and tests real soon as well. You don't have to be perfect at everything, and I certainly didn't pass first time. I passed on my 5th attempt. I had to learn a lot of lessons along the way, and I'm glad I did in a way because it makes me more aware of what I'm doing when it comes to driving. So comment below if you've done your driving test, regardless of if you passed it or failed it. What importantly have you learned from your test? What advice would you give to anyone else that's watching this video? Your own unique tips, put them in the comment section below. And I hope everyone stays healthy and safe and they're at home. This coronavirus is a killer, but together we can all defeat it to the bitter end. So like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys again real soon. Bye.